This week I learned, apparently I am never, ever going to have a finished kitchen in my house. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, guys. Going through March relatively quick here, as does seem to be the way as of late. Yes, guys, I am still undergoing major home renovations here, and it's just become like a shouting match between me and these installers every day. It's very, very frustrating, and that has kind of, leaked into my reading and my video making this week, so we will touch upon that as we do go here. But let's begin, like always, guys, talk about what am I reading. I'm afraid I don't have much new to tell you, guys, because I am still working on Shogun. Look, I'm that far. I'm into the final book now. It's about 100 pages left. I am absolutely enjoying the journey. Nothing has changed there. Like I said, there are many things that I do love so much more than the way they were done in that 1980 miniseries. But, in most cases, the book is usually better, and this is no different. So, I'm loving this journey. But, it is taking quite a bit of time. But, again, that's not a bad thing. I'm glad I have taken my time with this. And I'll be finishing it before next time we speak on a weekly update, most likely. And I'm so glad that I decided to take the journey because it's just such a wonderful trip, and it's an incredible book. And James Clavell is an absolutely amazing author. He really, I just feel like I've learned so much reading this book, and it just never takes away from the adventure of the story and just the Stranger in Strange Land, which is just done just perfectly well. So I've had a blast with it. And really the only reason I didn't finish it this week, like I said, is because these real life things have been kind of going on, affecting my mood, affecting, my availability and all of the above. But having a great time with it. But again, I know that that's a very, very short segment for what am I reading. That's really all that I did work on this week. So let's just go ahead, slip into what am I going to read, talk about what I'm doing after that. Yes, I have continued to keep pushing Threadlight down the road. But what I have made a promise myself is I am going to finish Stones of Light, that's book 2 in Threadlight, before I start Priest of Lies. Because twice now I've made Threadlight wait behind something. I finished Blackwater, and now I'm finishing Shogun, and now I want to finish Threadlight. So I'll be getting back into Stones of Light. I don't know if I'll do Bonds of Chaos immediately after, but really those two and the Priest of Lies are all that I do have left for the month of March here. So Priest of Lies will be one that I plan to get into immediately after. And I'm very excited to continue with that series. But I'm going to be shocked if I don't end up doing 2, 3, and 4 of the series almost back to back, because I did like the series a lot. And it sucks because a lot of people that I convinced to read this now, they're already past me and they're already into book 3. But that's the way that it goes. But I just want to make sure that I finish some things before I kind of continue with other things. But like I said, I'm making a promise to myself I'm not going to start Priest of Lies until I finish Stones of Light. And there's nothing wrong with Stones of Light, guys. I don't want you to get it wrong. It's just like Blackwater was amazing and Shogun is amazing. I just want to finish those books up before I kind of continue on. So I'm really only, 5-6 chapters into Stones of Light. So I'll get into that immediately when I finish Shogun. Then maybe these 2 segments will have more to say, because I know it's been almost 3 weeks now where I've been telling you about Shogun, about Threadlight, and that's kind of really all I have been doing. So let's go ahead and move along, guys, to this week on the channel. This might be the quickest weekly update ever, I think. Went ahead and wrapped up the month of February, named my book of the month, as always, guys. Wrap-ups are a lot of fun for me. It's always fun to go back, reflect on what you did during the month, look at everything as a whole of what you actually read, the things that we talked about on the channel, what's going on everywhere around the booktube sphere. Is that a word, booktubosphere? I don't know. You come up with one better than that. I don't have one right now. I just made it up on the fly, but naming the book of the month is always a lot of fun. I think I actually surprised some people with my pick on that, and I did do a book of the month short. I am going to isolate the book of the month segment and put those on the channel a little later, just because, like I said, when people are looking for a review of a specific book, I think that'll help them a lot, where they don't have to watch a weekly update, they don't have to watch a monthly wrap-up to know my thoughts on a book that I have talked about a lot. And that book was Priest of Bones. I know a lot of people expect me to pick Blackwater, and I think it's just like Priest of Bones was just perfect timing. It was everything that I think that I wanted in a grimdark kind of story. But perfect timing is what I was looking for at that exact time. Because I feel like if you read a lot of grimdark just back to back, I start getting like kind of depressed. But I also feel like if I get away from that little subgenre for a long time, I start feeling like, okay, I need some darkness in my life, because everybody says that, you know. Because look, it's one of those things where, like, I'm glad I read it when I did, because if I read it now, it might have actually put me in a worse mood, because I'm just so frustrated with this home renovation thing that it's just made me like a complete grouch this week. Like, I mean, it's so bad, guys. It's so bad with the miscommunication with these people that we're working with, and it's something I will never, ever recommend to anybody. If you don't ever do home renovations, don't. I would recommend against it. It's one of those things everybody says, oh, it'll be worth it when it's over, you know, but as we're headed towards week number 7, without countertops, without a stove, without, you know, a sink, without a dishwasher, it's become quite frustrating, and it's the point now where it's just like, I am ready to just go up to anybody that I can find that will do it immediately and pay them to just do it and just eat the money that I'm losing. But again, I'm saying that would be affecting my mood maybe. So hopefully that can get taken care of within the next week or two before I start Priest of Lies, and I'll feel a little better about my attitude, I think, with what's going on, because it's just so distracting, guys. It'll affect everything. You know, you'll be snapping at your coworkers, snapping at your kids. You'll start reading, and you'll just be so distracted by it. It's completely just turn me into a person I don't want to be turned into. But with that little rant out of the way, I do want to say I did do an original video, and it was kind of one that I kind of did on the fly. I know I had said for a couple weeks now I was going to do Lost and Adaptation about Percy Jackson, but this was something relevant that obviously, you know, Dune is quite big right now because of the second movie is a huge box office hit. So something I'm starting to see is a lot of my old Dune content is getting new viewers to it. Obviously, my Why You Should Read Dune being the biggest one there. And I got so many comments in the last week about, well, it's a shame that all the sequels sucked. And I mean, just like, I think that's just a broad generalization. And a lot of people that say that, I feel like they haven't even read them. They just say that because, you know, everybody says it. I got the same with the Star Wars Expanded Universe, where everybody would always be like, oh, well, who cares if Disney decanonized it? They all sucked. And I'm like, first, I don't think you've read every Star Wars book to say that. And did they all suck? No. I mean, you got that many of them. Is some of them going to suck? Sure. But all of them suck? No, absolutely not. I disagree. It's kind of what I want to do about the Dune sequels, because there are parts of the Dune sequels I do not like. I don't even like every single one of the Dune sequels. Now, I was talking just about the ones that Frank wrote. I don't even consider the Brian Herbert stuff canon, guys, so I don't even really try to talk about it very much. But that video was talking about the ones that Frank Herbert wrote. And I think Dune Messiah and Children of Dune are absolute musts. If you like the first book and you want to continue, you need to read those two together to get the full effect of the story. Now, God Emperor, that's going to be a little bit more divisive, but I kind of wanted to go into all that. And then, of course, there is the trilogy that Frank did not finish before he sadly passed away. And I have admitted that I have only read those, you know, once. So I talk about why Heretics and Chapter House might not be my favorite, but it's one of those things where I feel like it's a discussion, and it's obviously it's going to be divided. But I did get a lot of pushback. People like, I've never heard anybody say the Dune sequels. Like, well, guys, I've been reading this since the 90s, and a lot of people have told me how much they think all of the sequels suck, like every single one of them. And I think that's why a lot of people bounce off Messiahs, because if you miss some of those things in the first book, Frank makes sure that he hammers it home really, really quickly in Messiah, and you're like, that doesn't feel like the story I bought into. So I can see why there's a lot of negative reaction to it, but you know, you aren't going to get that from me. I absolutely love and adore this universe that Frank Herbert created, and I will always defend it to the death, and that's kind of what I do in that video. But I've seen a lot of positive reaction. But like I said, maybe, you know, inside of the Dune fandom, it was just kind of like that for a while. Now that it's gotten bigger and a lot of people are experiencing the series the first time, you know, they don't feel like that, because apparently they're saying that they never really hear people say that the sequels all suck. I hear it a lot. I have heard it a lot. And I was hearing it a lot on some of my old Dune videos, and that's what prompted me to make that video kind of on the fly. So the Lost and Adaptation, I don't know. It'll happen eventually. You know, with that is like, if I have something that kind of comes up content creation wise, I'll go for it, you know, while it's right here and I want to talk about it. And that's why I did it that way. I think that's what keeps me doing this. You know, that's what keeps me consistent with putting out new content every week, is I just make sure that, you know, those ideas that are coming to the forefront, let's go ahead and talk about those, you know, while we want to talk about them. But some next week plans, guys, got a couple of things. I'm going to be doing some traveling, and I'll talk about that in a second. I'll be doing my book haul, obviously, for February. It just seems like I get to start doing these later and later in the next month, every single month. But, you know, I just want to make sure I do show those new things that were added, some wonderful, wonderful things that were sent to me by authors and some viewers that I kind of want to just say thank you for some of the things. If you don't follow me on some of the other socials, you don't know about a lot of this stuff, because I do post a lot of pictures on Instagram and things like that, and Twitter, that, things that wonderful authors are sending to me, and viewers that are just way, way too kind. So I always want to make sure that I get that out there. I'll be doing my review for Empire of the Damned. Now, that is actually the second book in Jay Kristoff's adult vampire series. It is coming out. It was released already in Australia and the UK, but it'll be coming out in the US on Tuesday. So I want my review to kind of coincide with that on release day, and I do plan to get that out then. And that kind of takes me into why I'm going to be going out of town. Jay Kristoff and I have developed somewhat of a friendship since I talked to him on the channel like 2+ years ago. And it's just something that we've always just stayed in touch, because we always just talk about rock music and things like that. And it's a really cool relationship we developed. Well, he's going to be in Dallas, which is about a 3.5-hour drive from me. He's going to be in Dallas for the Empire of the Damned book tour on Friday. And I am going to be making the trip. And Jay and I do have something special planned for the channel. I think it could be a lot of fun. Now, obviously, that video is not going to be out, since I'm going to be going on that road trip on Friday and Saturday. So that will be the next week after that. I put whatever it is that we plan to do. I'll be getting into that video then. But I just want to let you guys know I will be going out of town. Yes, I will be going to that signing. If you live in the Dallas area and you're going to that signing, please make sure you stop and say hi. I'd love to meet you. It'd be a really, really great time. But I'm really excited about what Jay and I have planned, because we got some stuff that I think will be a lot of fun, even if you aren't a fan necessarily of his books. I think it'll be content that'll be really fun for you to watch. I just remembered that this morning I was with Alan and Murphy and Philip, and we talked about One Piece. I forgot to talk about that. We just talked this morning. It was so. It just seems like I'm recording this like right after it, and I forgot about it. We did talk about the ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 arc of One Piece, and again, we're doing that sequentially each one of our channels, and we're going to kind of flip it around, because there are certain arcs that that Alan wants, that Murphy wants, and it just sounds like it's a good way to do it. Let the person lead the charge that really love that arc a lot. So we're doing that on each one of our channels, just kind of just whatever way it comes up. Don't think we're going to be skipping anybody, but there's 4 of us, so each 4 arcs, we'll kind of divide those out. And this one was on Murphy's channel, so I'll post a link here in case you guys did miss it and you want to continue hearing us talk about this wonderful journey. Again, I feel like Philip and I are the newbies there. Alan obviously is probably the longest fan of the series, and Murphy obviously has the biggest platform on BookTube that does talk about the series. And obviously, she's quite knowledgeable about it. So, again, I can't say thank you enough for them for inviting me to be a part of that panel, because sometimes I feel like the weak link there, but I'm just so happy that they did ask me to be a part of it, and it's been a lot of fun. But let's go ahead and move, guys, into TV and movie talk here before I go. Dune Part 2, it has already surpassed its box office from Part 1 in just 7 days. I think when Christopher and I talked about our spoiler talk on Dune Part 2, is I think what I said in that was Dune Part 1 was kind of carried by sci-fi fans and the readers. These were people who loved the book and were kind of trying to pass it down to their kids and things like that. And I think that was enough to get us a Part 2. Now it feels like this has totally hit the pop culture zeitgeist, and I'm here for it. I've had a lot of people asking me, do you feel like robbed? Do you feel like somebody's stealing Dune away from you now that it's become like a big, big thing? Absolutely not. The same thing happened when Game of Thrones blew up. I've been reading Song of Ice and Fire since the year 2000, and people thought that I felt like it was being something that was cool was being taken from me. I mean, it's like, you loved Metallica, and then when Metallica went mainstream, did it bother you? No, I feel like Dune has always been one of the most welcoming fandoms, and I'm hoping it doesn't change, because it's just always been welcoming. We're always so happy to see new people reading and loving this story. So even if you're only experiencing it in the visual format, we're just happy that you're here. I never thought I'd live long enough, guys, to see Dune memes and stuff in the mainstream. That's just so cool. There's so many Stilgar memes going around right now. It's amazing. I love it. It's a great time to be a Dune fan. As for how far this box office can go, I mean, I have no idea. I feel like word of mouth is huge. And there's so many people being like, you've got to experience it in the theater. There's so many articles out there right now about how Dune is going to change cinema. I think people were just starving, guys, for not superhero stuff and just a great, great story and a visual feast. A reason to feel like you need to pay to go see it in the theater again in this world of, hey, I'll just wait 3 weeks and it'll be out streaming. I feel like it does feel like it's an experience, something you need to go out and get. It feels like an event. And I think that that's really great. And it's only a matter of time, guys, before we get the announcement for Dune Messiah, which Jane's going to do. And I do like that in a recent interview, he didn't ever rule out doing Children of Dune. He was just saying, it's taken 6 years to make these two movies, and it'll probably take him 3 years to make Messiah. So he wants to take a break. He wants to do other things. I know he wants to make Rendezvous with Rama. I think he's doing a Cleopatra movie. So I think he wants to do other things, but he's not ruling out ever doing Children of Dune. And with the big time gaps between these books, it makes sense. It'd be fine. It would work out that way. I'm just saying now that it's such a big hit, I think legendary Warner Brothers might be in his ear a little bit, being like, yeah, well, can we strike while the iron's hot and not wait 6-7 years between these movies? Because if it's 2030 before we get Dune Messiah, I feel like you've kind of lost that momentum. You got to ride that sandworm while it is really, really popular. But we'll see. It's a great time to be a Dune fan, and to have it in the hands of someone who cares so much about the product is very, very encouraging. Not really excited about the HBO stuff that's coming out, because I feel like it's going to be leaning on a lot of the Brian Herbert material, and we already kind of touched on that. But I am going to keep an open mind towards. I am taking my kid to see Dune Part 2 tomorrow because I did give him the option. Hey, you want to go see Kung Fu Panda 4 or do you want to go see Dune Part 2? And he said Dune Part 2. And again, I'm not going to lie, it does give me a little bit of the allergies that my kid even has interest in my favorite story ever. So the fact that he wants to rewatch Dune Part 1 tonight and then we'll go see Dune Part 2 tomorrow. And that's going to be an experience, I think. And I'm happy that he is interested enough to want to go see it. Avatar on Netflix, a live action. I've only watched 3 episodes so far. I like it. Don't love it. I like it. Here's the thing. I feel like if you'd never watched the original series, you might feel a little differently because I've seen a lot of people who they never watched the cartoon and they've watched this live action series and they like it a lot. And that's cool. Again, it's one of those fandoms I feel like everybody should get into, and I'm loving the original cartoon. And I feel like maybe that might be affecting me a little bit. It's hard for me to accept some of those changes. I feel like this is passable, but like season 1 of the show, book 1. It's one of those things where you look at what they had to do to make that to live action and make it. They weren't going to be doing Village of the Week. It wasn't going to be that type of show. It wasn't going to be like Stargate SG-1, where every week you're on a new planet. I understand why they made some of the choices that they have. They've combined some storylines. They've moved some characters forward. They moved some other characters back. I mean, Azula's on the first season of the show, and she's not in it until book 2 on the original series. So I understand, but the cool thing about it is that I'm kind of beating around this. They've renewed it for seasons 2 and 3. So we're going to get the complete story of Aang and Team Avatar. So that's really cool. That's really cool that they've committed to doing all 3 parts of it. And that crew seems really, really just enthused about the show. They love being a part of it. And I just love that. I love the people who want to be there. They're not doing it for the paycheck. I mean, everybody's doing it for some money, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying they're doing it for more than just the paycheck. They really do love and believe the source material that they're adapting. And I know, guys, you're never going to have that feeling. You're never going to have the same. I've seen this so many times where there's something you love, the original version. And even if it gets remade or it gets made an adaptation from, like I said, like an animated series to a live action, you're never going to get that same feeling again, especially if you were at a young and impressionable age. It's never going to give you that same feeling. To me, I feel like stuff like this is welcome if it's respectful because it brings new people to the fandom. That's how I feel as someone who's been a fan of the original animated series of Avatar for 5 minutes. I just started watching it in February, and I love it. It's one of my favorite shows ever, and I'm about halfway through book 3 and I'm scared. I'm getting really scared because I don't want it to end. But again, I feel like it's really, really cool that Netflix is committing to telling this whole story because Netflix has really gotten good at, hey, we'll get a lot of people interested in this and then we'll cancel it. So with this, they are committed to telling the whole story and I'm excited. And also that they didn't say, hey, it's going to be 5 seasons so we can expand everything. I'm glad they're not doing that either. So they do feel like they are trying to stay as true to the original story as they can. And yes, what you've heard is true. Book 2 and 3 of Avatar are way better than book 1. So I feel like season 2 and 3 has a chance to be something truly special if they stick to that original source material. My wife and I watched Iron Claw. If you guys don't know what that is the story of the Von Erich family. Very, very popular wrestling groups. And the Von Erich story, I already knew going into it. If you don't know, it's a very, very sad story. Very, very, very sad story. And it was like, I hate to say this, but it was prime for, a biography story. It was something that I felt like a biopic was going to be very, very well for that story because there's a lot of drama actually in there. The movie was great. But no matter how sad the movie is, guys know that the real story, even more sad because there is another brother that the movie does not add. So it's a tragic tale. And I mean, I remember watching a biography when it first came, the documentary on this family when it first came out, and I actually cried watching this documentary. And I remember when this stuff was happening to his family, I was like, my God, what is going on with this family? Why does this keep happening to them? And, I watched that documentary, got to know a little more. My wife knew nothing about them, and she was a mess at the end. And me, I know the story. And yeah, guys, it's going to get tears out of you. There's a kind of a little epilogue there at the end that's just really, really emotional. So with me, A24 stuff is very hit or miss. This was a big-time hit. Amazing movie, amazing performances all around. And even if it did, like I said, take away one of the Von Erich brothers, it was still an amazing story. And I feel like the castings were perfect, especially the kid playing Carrie Von Erich. Dude, that was like ripped from real life. Really, really well done. So great, great movie. You don't have to like wrestling. Wrestling is very much the backdrop of this. The only negative thing I've got to say about it is the one they cast as Ric Flair. He was awful. Everyone else was great. Like Harley Race was so good, I thought it was Harley Race. It was that good. So if you are a wrestling fan, an old school wrestling fan, I think you'll appreciate a lot of those things. But if you just want a good family drama, I think it's going to be something that you'll enjoy, and also something that will make you very, very sad, because it is a very, very depressing story, and they don't gloss over any of that. And I feel like they only kind of Hollywood up a few things. Most of it is pretty spot on to the way that things really did happen. And I give it the highest of recommends. 1 Iron Claw up for sure. So, guys, that was my week. What's your week looking like, guys? I would love to know. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing. No wrong answers ever on this channel. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.